really got scared again when we were about to go to bed. I just remember shivering with my back turned. We're looking out and we see this hulking figure just staring at us. Dogman or some kind of werewolf beast crossed in front of them.
This is the Cryptid Creatures Podcast. I am Brian, and with me, as always, is my co-host Todd. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing, man. Just getting ready for this next episode. We got Connor coming on to talk about his encounters. So
yeah. Sounds like this could be an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure. Got some different things going on and different philosophies, I believe, to talk about. He's got a lot to cram in, so it'll be an interesting episode for sure.
Should be fun.
All right. While we're here, I want to give a shout out to our listeners as always, but I also want to give a shout out to our past guests. Without you guys, we wouldn't be where we're at right now, and we appreciate you coming on and telling your stories. So just a shout out to you guys. Yep. I know a lot of you still listen to the show, and we appreciate that so much. And we just appreciate you coming on and telling your stories and making it what it was to this point.
Thank you all. You're really helping us out. So
for sure,
we appreciate it.
Sure,
we wouldn't be here without you.
Absolutely. So enough said. Let's bring Connor on and see what he's got to say. Brian,
yeah,
what do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, Here we go. Connor, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. The stars have aligned, and we are here.
Yeah, we are.
Absolutely.
Finally.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
Yep. Glad to have you on.
Excited to have you. Sound like you've been doing some interesting things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. I stay pretty active in the field. I do constant investigations, and then I interview people as well. I work at a comic book store, so a lot of strange people find their way into my life pretty much every day.
Oh, yeah.
And I have wild, wacky, long hair, and I'm loud and exuberant, so people gravitate towards me, and I try to make them feel comfortable with their strange anomalies, just because this world tells people that all that paranormal and supernatural stuff doesn't exist. But guess what? If you look back at the Sumerian tablets or any of the ancient tribes, legends, it'll tell you otherwise. So we have to just start acting right and catching up to like what's actually been presented to us.
Right on, man. Cool.
Right on, man.
So why don't you tell us about your background a little bit? You run a thing called Bigfoot Anon. You can tell us about that a little bit, and then we can get into your encounter after that.
Yeah, for sure. My name's Connor Flynn. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, right on Lake Erie, which is really famous for the serpent that lurks under the water, and then all the UFO sightings. A lot of people say there's probably UFO bases under the lake. But then I moved to Florida like when I was 23, 24, lived out in my car, joined a punk rock musical, and then we toured all around the state of Florida. And then to the summer, we drove to California and back and lived on the road and couch surfed. And it was truly amazing. And after living out of your car, you find what you really need in life, and you learn how to adapt quick, or else you'd be dust and ash. But yeah, it's just been a long journey, and I've always been interested in creatures and unknown mysteries, but then they found me. And that's what, a couple of my books are about, is we don't have to watch scary movies and read graphic novels. These encounters will find you. You don't have to go very far.
Mm-hmm. And you've written 3 books as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I've written 3 books that have been published. I have 2 more completed, and the next one's coming out next month. Panhandle Pirates. Not next month. This month, August. This month.
Yeah.
Because this
Still
month
feels
is my
like
birthday.
July.
Yeah. I'm still in July. I'm exhausted from a hike that I went with Donnie Miller a couple days ago. The heat index was 119, but we were overdue on the hike, so we still went anyway and had an crazy time. Something was trailing us from across the river. And Donnie himself has had more than 10 face-to-face encounters. So just being out there with him was wild. And then him being out there with me was a crazy combination of frequencies. So it was a great time. And that's what I'm all about, is just mixing it up and spreading knowledge, and then digging deep into these deep conspiracies and cryptid cover-ups for real.
Oh, yeah.
Right on, man. So why don't you tell us about Bigfoot Anon then a little bit? What made you start that besides your encounter, and what's that all about?
Yeah, Bigfoot Anon is my brand. And I don't want it to define me. It's not just me. It's my community. It's the knowledge. It's just the spider web that has us all entangled. But it started Bigfoot Anonymous on SoundCloud. And I started narrating anonymous encounters, I guess I could say, and then newspaper articles, and then different things I could find on the mound builders, all the excavations of giant skeletons that they had across America and overseas. My friend, Giants of Ancient America, he has collected more than 900 newspaper articles. And I was so tired of people demanding bones and proof, and the fact that they're saying it doesn't exist altogether. Come on, guys, it was on the news. And I know the news doesn't tell the truth. And the newspaper doesn't tell everything 100%, but there are facts in there that are so specific that you couldn't make them up. You know, they're sun worshipers. They're covered in copper. They were sitting position. And these are all different newspapers that have the same alignments. So you have to dive into it, or at least, look at it. So I knew people can't even read and are too lazy to do that. So I had to narrate it. So when people say I have countless hours, double-digit hours of just Bigfoot encounters and Bigfoot newspaper articles. So I just want everybody to step their hustle up too, and quit with the cop-outs. Like, there is evidence, there are sightings. Like, if anybody wants to stand back there and say Sasquatch isn't real, at this point, 2021, come down to Florida. We'll all tell you the skunk ape exists. Like, oh my gosh, caught in the past, a lot of these people. Yeah, because they're brainwashed and shaped to be who they are.
Let's get into your Florida area here in a little bit, but why don't you tell us about your main encounter that you had, or your first encounter, the one that really set it straight for you?
I've had multiple strange encounters over my life. Literally just recently, a couple of days ago, but that's a Class C, Class D. I have had Class A encounters. The most prominent one that really shaped my life was the Dogman, but we named him the Wolfman when we were younger. And it was at my buddy Alex's house in Sleepy Hollow. And Jake and Alex were best friends, and I was, the third member of the crew. They were neighbors, so they were always closer. But they had an encounter like 2 months before that, driving home. This fireman was driving them home from the rec center, and a Dogman or some kind of werewolf beast crossed in front of them. And I actually had them write their experiences for my first book, just to better create the spider web, to have their testimony, their word. And then I heard a lot about this Wolfman creature, but then it was one Friday night before Saturday Night Golf League, and we were down in his basement shooting pool, and there's this walkout glass door to the basement, and you could just go to the backyard. And then further down, there's caves and a den and cliffs. And we just felt something overcome us. Alex says he heard rustling, but it was more in our chest, like infrasound, They can just take over the grid and silence everything. And I was, 12 years old at this point, so I really had no clue what was going on. So we're just looking out the window, and then we turn the lights off and are peeking through this little like a mail window kind of. And we're looking out, and we see this hulking figure down in the den just staring at us. And they saw the glowing eyes. I really just saw the being, and I just couldn't believe it because I heard about it, and I'm really into this stuff. And I was on Vic Cundiff's show, and he's like, do you think they could have put that in your mind? And it's like, no, they were terrified as well. But we dove into the staircase, and a couple minutes later, we're like looking around, didn't see anything. We start watching movies, and that's when we really got scared again, when we were about to go to bed. I just remember shivering with my back turned, and then I collectively, it's crazy, and we still talk about it today. We're like, because it feels like a dream. But collectively, we all went upstairs to Alex's room and slept. And then we talked to his mom about it, and she's really by the book. She used to say she used to hear man-like owl calls pretty much every night out there. There was an abandoned drive-in theater and an abandoned spring with diving boards. So I've heard so many stories of them going to warehouses and man-made tunnels. I think they just gravitate towards that. Maybe it's the man in them, or maybe it's just, I don't know, something like ley lines or just frequencies and vibrations. But that really just set me down a big spell of stuff. One time down at my grandparents' farm with Jake, he's became like my brother over the years. This thing that we described as the bear cat dropped out of the trees and pretty much attacked the dogs, not violently, just, kind of barking at them. But it wasn't a cat. It wasn't a bear. It was big as a black lab, because I had a black lab named Seiko, and he was just as big as that creature. But we ran up the hillside, and none of the animals were hurt, but we always just described it as the bear cat. And it was kind of close to Cincinnati. And I know what a bear cat looks like, an actual bear cat animal. It was not that. It was, like a cryptid creature or some kind of mutated, with mange type panther, big cat.
Did you get a good look at this thing? What did you see?
Yeah, it was black, pretty much like mangy. It had parts that were not covered. It was worn. It's been in the forest. But we were really just scared. And I hate even saying that now, because now when something's near, we hold our feet. But just as kids, we were spooked. And the dog, I remember being so scared for the dogs, really, more than myself. I was worried about the dogs, just because I didn't feel really threatened, but the dogs were making really weird sounds, and it was just a strange feeling altogether.
Let's back up to the first encounter you talked about. Did you happen with this dog? What made you think it was a Dogman? And did you get a good look at the face or the snout or any? What did you see exactly?
Yeah, I could really just see the silhouette of the creature and maybe some of its head. It was not like a man. It kind of had the canine feel, but that part was definitely in my head because Jake and Alex always described it as the Wolfman because they saw it in bright day, right in the middle of the afternoon. So they got a good look at it. They thought it was a deer right away. But I just saw the silhouette and pretty much my imagination probably filled in the rest.
And where did they see that at? Where was that at when they saw that?
It's in Brunswick, Ohio, Sleepy Hollow. It's a road that has dense woods, but yeah, Northeast Ohio. And there's tons of other strange creatures there. Where the Brunswick Blue Devils, and a lot of people said that was like a chupacabra type creature. And, a werewolf, a small werewolf could kind of look like a big chupacabra. So we just named it the Wolfman. This was all before the Dogman craze. We heard of werewolves and maybe lycanthropes, but not Dogman. But now that everybody talks about Dogman, I think that might have had something to do with what we saw.
Gotcha. The Bigfoot exposure, Connor, is definitely growing. I can tell that for sure. In just advertising and whatnot. So, maybe someday. Like the aliens, supposedly, the government will admit that they exist. But what's your thoughts on Bigfoot, etc.? Do you think it's paranormal? Do you think it's flesh and blood? What do you think?
Yeah, man, I definitely think it's supernatural because I think we are supernatural. If we could just tap into even an extra % of our brain, we'd be able to perform miracles. But just think they can tap into that other frequency and slow us down and really unite with nature. And nature's full of miracles itself. So, yeah, I don't really look at it like paranormal or the woo. And when people take it way too far, man, like, Jesus Christ was magical. This earth is magical. We create dreams when we fall asleep and then we forget it. Amnesia, like that. Life doesn't line up linear. And we have to stop acting like that. And the last 2 years, I hope, can prove that to people that, wow, things can change and we're not all in the 90s anymore. Things don't last forever. And other countries have learned that the hard way, but America's bubble, we don't know, and I watch a lot of movies that I know how it goes because the movies predict it all. If we could have, tapped into the movies before, we could have stopped a lot of this from happening.
Right. So, bottom line is, these things, people are seeing these things. They're not lying, like I always say, if one person's telling the truth, then these things exist. So something's going on out there. We just don't know what it is. So
I've seen what the hair looks like under a microscope. So I just don't have much patience. I've read 200 newspaper articles. So when people say, yeah, it doesn't exist, there's no evidence, I want to share everybody the Ocheesee Pond wild man story. It's in the 1800s in the panhandle of Florida. Yeah. They captured one of these creatures, and then they took it to the Capitol. The governor said, no way. They sent it to Chattahoochee Hospital, which is famous for experimentation and just like the prison-like terms. And there's a movie about it. Gary Oldman plays a soldier that gets shipped to Chattahoochee and really suffers. So imagine what they did to this wild man that was 9 feet tall and could only talk in mumbles after they do the electroshock therapy. But yeah, everybody, please check out the Ocheesee Pond Wildman story. And I've been to Ocheesee Pond many times, and then Ocheesee Landing is right near the pond. Across the river is Torreya State Park, and I've had a couple encounters there, but everybody's probably seen the Stacy Brown footage. It's thermal footage from his dad. It's a 9-foot creature, and I think that creature's still lurking there, and its descendants. It's probably Cain himself. But yeah, I heard a big creature, which I got this all recorded on GoPro, and it's on my YouTube. Walking and crouching, wading through a river or a creek, because all we could hear is that water pushing through, and it's GoPro audio and it's raining, so it's pretty poor. But if it's a true professional would to look at the audio, you could definitely put it into programs and break it down. And I've recorded some hoots and howls. We actually had a boulder thrown somewhere behind us on the trail, kind of telling us to keep going, pick up the pace. And it was at a location in Torreya State Park that I never been to, near the Torreya Challenge, where Donnie Miller had a face-to-face encounter literally like 3 weeks ago, and that's on his channel as well. You don't get to see the creature, but you can definitely hear it. And
what happened with that? Can you tell us a little bit about that encounter? Do you know a little bit what happened about that?
Yeah. Donnie was walking down the Torreya Loop, but then he turned onto the Torreya Challenge, which is like a 5-mile loop at the backside of the park. And there's tons of caves there. A lot of people don't know that Florida has caves and valleys. In my first book, it talks Garden of Eden, Road Trip to Eden. Right there, the Garden of Eden is connected to Torreya State Park. The Garden of Eden is about 15 square miles. That's what, some experts have came to, So it leaks into Torreya. 27 of the 28 trees in the Bible are in that park. Gopher wood, which Noah used to build the ark, the lightest and strongest wood in the world. It's also known as longleaf Torreya. The only place it grows in the whole world is right there. And then a delta that breaks into 4 rivers, the good book says. It's right there. And I'm not big on just straight religion. I like to pick truth from all of them, and I think there's many adaptations from Eden. I'm not saying this is the only one. I'm telling you, there's Atlantis, and then there's Mayan ruins in the Great Lakes. So clearly, there's a lot going on in the United States. We had kings and queens. I don't celebrate presidents and governors. Mm-hmm. We had kings and queens, guys. We have people that were here before the Native Americans. Like the natives were not just testing different medicines and coming up with this stuff. They had this knowledge from the ancient ones, the ones in the forest. Everybody has to look up the Hoopa Project, written by David Paulides. The Hoopa people used to live with the Sasquatch up until the 1900s, recent times. And there's tons of stories. People coincide with Sasquatch. They have them on their property. They raise them since they're young. 50 years with Bigfoot in, Tennessee. The one about the Carter farm, Janice Carter, about the fox. And then Fox ended up raising a whole family. So you actually got to see a little bit how the Bigfoot dynamic, lines up. The fact that people want to say it doesn't exist, they have the language recorded. They have literally words that are translated. Everybody needs to listen to the Sierra sounds. The voice professionals have already said human capacities cannot go there. Right. It is something natural that is out there that is not human. It's human hybrid. Every time they find the DNA, it always comes back contaminated because it's human hybrid. They can't accept that. They can never say that because then all the schools are wrong. Then all the churches are wrong.
Religion's wrong.
Stuff,
History's wrong.
History's wrong. Yep. Now you're hitting the nail on the head. Yep, for sure. Well, I've got a couple more questions before we wrap this up, Connor. What do you think about Nephilim? And you made some Bible references. So what's your thoughts on the Nephilim, real quick?
Yes, I definitely think there's a link between the Nephilim and these other creatures, just because a lot of links came from it. They're the Watchers. They were casted down from the fallen angels. The fallen angels came down and traded something with the women and the men of this. And you've heard so many stories of them abducting human beings and then to create a bigger family tree, because inbreeding is a big problem with these Sasquatches. That's why some of them do have 3 toes and some of them do have snouts. Of course, I think werewolves exist and frogmen and lizardmen. There's something pretty much out there for everything. There's goatmen. I know I'm jumping all around, but I hope everybody can just research all this stuff after I say it. I'm not trying to convince anybody.
I'll tell you what.
open doors, and I'm trying to show people if they know anything about it, then they got a loudmouth guy that's not really scared of the establishment on their side as well.
Connor, you're more exciting than a morning cup of coffee. I just got to say that real quick. So,
yeah, man, I'm glad.
I appreciate
it.
So, do you think Bigfoot is covered up by government? And also, if not, do you think Bigfoot will ever be pronounced by science as a living actual creature?
If they do, it's all a facade. Kind of just like how this UFO stuff, they make a big deal about it, and all these videos have already been out for years and decades, and they've already been seen by us and confirmed by us. I don't need modern academia or the science, just because they already turned down mud fossils and all this other DNA. They are behind. They're paid for, they are just a private business at this point. I got nothing for them. And I respect whoever's in it. That's fine. But they're been bullies for too long. And then they're gatekeepers for what? Guess what? All the stories are coming out now. How to hunt, Dixie Cryptid, Canada Cryptid, Buckeye Bigfoot. There are new stories every single day, and the cap is off. So, yes, they definitely cover it up. There has been so many recovered: Mount St. Helens, the Ocheesee Pond Wildman, and of course, over by the Grand Canyon and Fort Lewis in Washington, these creatures have been shot down. Oh, and then also in the Tennessee mountains after the Dennis Martin case, they wiped out like all the feral creatures in those Smoky Mountains. So yes, the government's trying to cover it up, but they can't do it all just because there's too many mouths out there now.
About the Dennis Martin case, what is it about that? What made you make the comment about that?
Yeah, well, after Dennis Martin came, the FBI and the Green Berets went into, the Smoky Mountains, and they wiped out a bunch of creatures. And South Force 10, he's a good channel. His family was actually paid to help aid this, wiping out of these beasts. But Dennis Martin was taken about 60 years ago in the Smoky Mountains. He was 6 years old. He was playing hide and go seek, and his dad watched him go in and then never saw him come out, and then ran down the path. And this other family actually saw a bear-like man holding little Dennis, a kid in a red hoodie, over their shoulder. And a lot of people said that they actually probably found Dennis alive or maybe very malnourished, but they can never tell the truth because there were so many bodies that have been, taken in the Smoky Mountains. And then what the Green Berets did to the feral families, because there were women and children feral families. I hate to even say that, but there's, a whole genocide going on under our noses. And that's why the Cleveland Indians are changing to the Cleveland Guardians. And that's why the Washington Redskins are the football team, because a generation from now, they're going to think people with white skin founded this country. And we're only one generation from the truth being just totally rewritten. We're watching it in front of our eyes. It's so crazy. And I try to dive into it with cryptids, but guys, conspiracies are right out your front door. Like, you can't even exist in this world anymore without them encroaching on you. And we have to fight back, or it's going to be, a history repeats.
Right. Well, we try to focus on, we think that, Bigfoot is covered up by the government, and that is one big conspiracy in my mind, that if the world knew that they existed, it would change a lot of things, like we talked about earlier.
The reason we started this podcast is so people like you can have some place to let
come
people know
talk
what's
about
going on, man.
Right. Yeah. And I definitely appreciate it.
As high energy as it may be, as you are, we will let you talk about it.
Heck yeah, man. I love this.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Connor, we thank you for coming on the show and talking about this stuff, man.
Taking notes and shit.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely want to get a hold of you and talk to you again sometime about some things, probably.
Oh, yeah, man. You got a lot more stuff to tell, so we want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I definitely would look forward to it, man. I have tons of stories with fishing stories, seeing giant sharks and then thinking there's mermaids under the boat, to growing up with the Grassman and then the Minerva Monster and just other weird stories like the Witch's Ball and Crybaby Bridge. If anybody's interested in it, definitely check out my books. They're on Amazon.
Yes.
I know it's fast, but you can read it.
You got the name. You got the names of all those for sure. Then
Eerie Swamps, Road Trip to Eden, Big Brother, Bigfoot, and then Monsters and Mysteries Around the Corner.
Okay.
And I just want everybody to just tap into it. And if anybody wants to check out my YouTube, Bigfoot Anonymous on TikTok and Instagram. And I stay active, guys. I drop multiple videos each day, pretty much just one in the morning. And then sometimes I follow it up with an interview on the spot. I also am the co-host of Horror Talk. It's a movie podcast. It's live on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday. I actually have an episode tonight at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And it's
What's that called again?
Horror Talk?
It's Horror Talk, yeah. And it's through Gypsy Road.
Not
Eric.
Not WHOR. It's HORROR, right?
Yeah. I always, I mumble and I don't know.
Horror. Well, it's a hard word to say.
Hey, we spell words and we write in cursive, so everything's already
right.
great, We're little witches ourselves. We put our teeth under the pillow for the tooth fairy,
Right.
Oh man! And if anybody likes filming locations, I love movies, so I just went to Jeepers Creepers filming location, the diner, and the jail, and they're actually tearing down the jail here soon. So anybody who lives in Central Florida,
I love Jeepers Creepers. That movie, that series, Jeepers Creepers, is awesome.
I love Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, that's cool. It scares the hell out of me.
The fourth one's coming out soon.
Oh, is it? Okay, let's check it out.
Not involved because he's been done some bad things, the director. So it's good that it gets refreshed and now a little bit of revised every 23 years. The Creeper is there.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, Connor, thanks again for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
No kidding, man. This is a blast.
Yep.
Can't wait to get back.
You have a good one. We'll be in touch.
Appreciate it. And just hit me up next time. I tagged a couple of my friends in your guys' link too.
Okay, cool.
I just want to touch on it real quick. I went on an expedition in Central Florida right after the Florida Bigfoot Conference. Tim T, Marie DeMont, Tristan, and Cam from Hidden Relief, Florida Lone Wolf. We went out there with a bunch of cameras, and we got some strange evidence. We recorded multiple baby cries, tons of weird owl hoots that some of them are owls, but some of them sound like mimics as well. And then Tim actually captured a brown, furry creature, and you can kind of see its armpit. I'll email that to you guys.
Sounds good, man.
See that. Heck yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very cool. He just uploaded a breakdown of it last night, 29 minutes long. Tim T in Florida. He's a tracker, and he let us stay at his house, and has recovered hair and then tons of footprints. We found 3 nice footprints that I made videos of and took pictures, and I wrote about it in the next book, Panhandle Pirates, next month. Or I keep saying next month. This month, August 28th is my birthday. Next month, I'm actually going to a Squatching Cowboys camp out in Tennessee with Manimal Research and Old Bear's Den. So it should be really
We
cool.
talked to him last.
We just talked to Old Bear.
We just talked to Old Bear.
Everything is connected.
Was it last night, Brian?
Yeah.
Now when I meet him, I'm gonna be like, oh, I know Brian and Todd. It's
yes.
help me, guys. They're gonna,
yes.
We just talked to him.
We just talked to him. We're still editing his podcast. So we'll be dropping that in a couple of weeks. Yep.
Everything's connected.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, Connor. Well, we're gonna let you go, man. We're gonna get off here, but you take care. We appreciate it again, and we'll talk soon.
Fun, for sure.
All right.
Had a blast, y'all.
See you. Well, you definitely don't need your coffee listening to that guy, do you?
Man, I am worn out. I need a nap after that.
Connor's a great guy, man. He's got a lot to say for sure.
He had some really interesting points he made on that one. I enjoyed him a lot.
Right, I did too. Right. I did not know that his encounter was a Dogman encounter but prior to talking.
I didn't either. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah. So he's got some stuff going on. Got some books out there. So hopefully people check him out. And
yep, I hope so.
Yeah.
Help him out.
Right. Once again, everyone, thanks for listening to the show. If you've had an encounter and want to be on, get on our Facebook page, click our link, and go to our calendar. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or you can email us at info@cryptidcreatures.co. Brian, where else can they get a hold of us at, man?
Twitter,
Instagram,
our pod page.
Right. So
yeah, we're everywhere. Instagram.
Right. Check us out on YouTube. Check our videos out of our recording.
Yeah.
So, and just thanks for the listens, everyone. We appreciate it.
Yes, we appreciate all of you every time. So thank you.
Right. Brian, thank you for joining me.
And don't forget, in November this year, we're going to be down at CryptidCon. So
right.
Don't forget that one.
November 19th or 2021, something like that.
Yep.
Down in Lexington, Kentucky. The
Lexington,
Crypticon.
Kentucky,
So come check us out down there. We'll have a booth. We can record and hear encounters there too, as well. So.
That's right.
All right, Brian.
So, as always, another great episode, my friend.
Yes. You too, man. Thanks for joining me.
Always.
All right. Take care.
See ya.